The auction hall was quiet. Hundreds of aliens sat on shining silver chairs, watching the stage with cold eyes. The lights above were bright, but the floor felt cold under Ilara's feet. She stood still, dressed in a simple white cloth, her hands locked in front of her, another human for sale. Ilara had been sold many times before. She knew the rules: stay silent, obey orders, never show emotion. Most buyers wanted humans for one night. Sometimes for fun, sometimes for work, but it never ended well. She always left with pain. Tonight felt no different. The speaker, a tall creature with golden skin and 4 eyes, spoke in a loud voice. "This one is rare," he said. "Female, human, quiet, strong mind." Ilara didn't look up. She stared at the floor, waiting for it to be over. "Who will start the bid at 10,000 credits?" The speaker asked. A few hands rose, claws and tentacles shining in the light. The number went higher: 15,000, 20, 25. Then the room fell silent. A deep voice came from the back: 50,000. Gasps filled the air. Every head turned toward the speaker. A large figure stepped forward, wearing dark armor that shone like metal fire. He had sharp eyes, gray-blue skin, and moved like a soldier. It was Commander Vale, a war hero, rich and powerful, feared by many. Nobody else made another offer. The auctioneer slammed the hammer down. "Sold to Commander Vale." Ilara looked up for the first time. Why would a war commander buy her for that much? She was just human, weak and broken. 2 guards took her by the arms and led her through a hallway of lights and silence. She was placed in a soft chair inside a private shuttle. Alone, minutes later, the door opened and Commander Vale stepped in. He looked at her, not like an owner, but like someone searching for something. "Come," he said. Not loud, not cold, just empty. Ilara followed. They didn't go far. His ship was hidden in a corner of the system, away from traffic. It was large and quiet inside. No other voices, no other sounds. Just the 2 of them. He showed her to a room, clean, warm, safe. A soft bed, fresh food, clothes that fit. "Rest," he said, and turned to leave. She couldn't help it. She spoke. "What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice shaking. Vale stopped, looked back at her with unreadable eyes. Then he said something strange, something soft. "Never leave me." And then he closed the door. Ilara stood frozen. She didn't understand. No commands, no demands, no cruelty, just that one line: "Never leave me." She sat on the bed, looking at the door. Was this a trick? Was he watching her? There were no cameras she could see, no chains, no locked door. But she could feel the ship. It was moving, fast and far. She went to the small window and looked out. They were already in a dark zone where no signals could reach. She was alone in space, with a stranger, a powerful one, a dangerous one. But he had not touched her, not even once. Why? That question kept spinning in her mind like a storm. She lay down on the bed, eyes wide open. Sleep would not come. That night, Ilara remembered something her mother once told her. The most dangerous people are not the ones who hurt you, but the ones who are kind because you don't know what they want. Commander Vale was kind, too kind, and that made him terrifying. Ilara woke up to soft light. The room was still quiet, still warm, still safe. She had slept through the night without chains, without pain. That had never happened before. A soft hum filled the air, the sound of the ship moving through deep space. She sat up, confused and cautious. Was this a dream? A trick? On the table, there was food, still warm, not the hard blocks she usually got. Real fruit, soft bread, water that tasted clean. She didn't touch it. Not yet. The door opened without a knock. Vale stepped in, but he didn't come close. He placed something on the floor, a small box. then turned to leave again. Ilara's voice stopped him. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. Vale didn't turn around. "I don't hurt what I need," he said, then walked away what he needed. She opened the box after he left. Inside was a dress, not fancy, not revealing, just simple and comfortable. Her size. She dressed slowly, thinking she had been with many buyers, from rich aliens to cruel ones. Some wanted her to clean, others wanted her to suffer. But no one had ever said, "Never leave me," and no one had ever given her comfort. Why now? She left the room, quietly, carefully. The hallway was clean, the walls marked with old battle medals and glowing maps. She walked softly, afraid of alarms, but none came. At the end of the hall was a large door, slightly open. She peeked inside. Vale sat at a round table, alone, watching a screen full of stars. No guards, no crew, just him. His armor was gone. He looked tired, older, like the weight of galaxies sat on his shoulders. She stepped inside. "You don't have anyone else here," she said, more a fact than a question. He nodded slowly, still watching the stars. "I did," he replied. Once Ilara sat across from him, not afraid, just curious. What happened to them? She asked. He didn't answer, but his eyes told the story. Loss, pain, memory. She waited. "War takes everything," he said finally. "Even the ones you love." Silence grew between them like a wall. But Ilara didn't leave after some time. He stood and walked to a hidden panel on the wall. He pressed a button, and a small holly-midge floated into the air. It showed a human woman, smiling, soft eyes, long dark hair, and next to her, a child, half human, half Phalian. "They were mine," he whispered. She was human. Ilara stared at the image, heart beating fast. "She looks like me," she said, surprised. Vale nodded. "You reminded me of her," he said. "That's why I bought you." Ilara stepped back, unsure. "So I'm a ghost to you," she said, voice shaking. "A replacement? No," Vale said quickly. "You are not her." "But I don't want to lose again." His voice cracked, just a little, like a ship under pressure. "I can't lose again," he said. "So I ask you, never leave me." Ilara's mind spun like a broken compass. This was not what she expected. He didn't want her body. He didn't want her silence. He wanted her presence. Her life that made it harder, more dangerous, because love can trap deeper than chains. "Do I have a choice?" she asked. Vale looked into her eyes and said, "Yes, but if you leave," he added, "I will follow." Her heart skipped. That was not a threat. It was a promise of pain, of memory, of someone who had lost too much. She walked back to her room, slowly, thinking. The door didn't lock behind her. She was not a prisoner, not fully, but she was not free either. Lara lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. She remembered being a little girl on Earth, before the war, before the silence. Her father once told her, "The stars are beautiful, but they're cold. Never forget that." Now she was in the stars, with a man who had everything, but nothing. A man who bought her, but did not touch her. A man who whispered love. Not lust. It should have felt safe, but it didn't, because kindness without reason is the scariest thing of all, and Ilara had no idea what tomorrow would bring. Ilara woke early, even before the lights in the room turned on. She had dreamed of Earth again, but the Earth in her dream wasn't real. It was green, bright, full of life, not the burnt shell she knew. She rubbed her eyes and sat up. The bed was soft, but her thoughts were sharp. Something didn't sit right. Commander Vale's words echoed in her mind. "I can't lose again." She couldn't understand him. He had power, money, a ship that moved like a ghost through space, but he acted like a man hiding from shadows. Why? That question was now stuck in her heart like a knife. She needed answers. She got up, dressed quickly, and stepped into the hallway. Still no guards, still no alarms. The ship was always quiet, always empty. That silence made everything louder. She walked deeper into the ship, following the soft hum of power flowing through its walls. Soon, she found the command room. The door was closed, but not locked. Alara hesitated, then pushed it open. The room was dark. Only the glow of the control panels lit the space. Screens showed. Stars outside, quiet and endless. She stepped in, careful, quiet. In the corner was a console, old, dusty, almost forgotten. It was not part of the ship's normal systems. It looked like something Vale hadn't touched in years. She moved closer and touched the screen. It lit up with a soft sound. No password, no lock, just a list of files. Most were logs, battle records, and star maps, but one file had a name, not a code. Amira? Her fingers froze above the screen. That was not her name. But something deep in her bones told her it mattered. She opened it. A small video played, old and shaky. It showed a woman, human, laughing as she held a small child. The child had bright eyes and strange skin, part human, part something else. And behind them, in the background, was Vale, smiling in a way she had never seen before. Happy, alive. The woman kissed him, then looked at the camera and said, "Say hi to Daddy, Amira." Alara stared at the screen, her chest tight. This was not a soldier, not a killer. This was a man who had loved and lost. Tears stung her eyes. The video ended, but the screen didn't go dark. More images followed, fast, like memories forced open. Reports of battles, news of a human city bombed by mistake. One report said, civilian casualties confirmed, Amira and companion presumed dead. Alara stepped back, heart pounding. Vale had lost them in the war. That's why he bought her. That's why he said, "Never leave me." She was not just a human to him. She was a ghost. A memory that walked and breathed behind her. A soft voice spoke. "You weren't supposed to see that." She turned, startled. Vale stood at the door, not angry, not cold. "Just tired. I had to know," she said. "I had to understand why I'm here." Vale walked into the room and closed the file. Silence filled the space again, heavy and full of pain. "They were my world," Key said, voice low, "and the war burned them away." Alara nodded slowly. "You think I'm like her," she said. "That's why you brought me." Vale looked at her. "You're not her," he said, "but you remind me of peace." That word peace sounded strange coming from him. It didn't belong in a ship built for war. "I'm not your past," she said softly. "And I can't be your healing, I know," Vale replied. "But for the first time, I don't feel empty when you're near." Alara didn't know what to say. A part of her felt sorry for him. Another part wanted to run far away. She turned to leave. But he said one last thing. "If you stay, I'll protect you. And if I don't?" She asked. "I won't stop you," he answered. "But I'll always be looking for you in the stars." Alara walked back to her room, her heart full of questions. She was not a prisoner, but she was caught in something bigger than chains. A man. With no family, no crew, no home, and a woman with no planet, no people, no place to belong. Was this love? Or was it just two broken souls hiding from the cold? She lay on her bed and stared at the ceiling. This time, she didn't cry. She just whispered, "Amira." And the stars outside kept moving. The days passed quietly. Alara stayed on the ship. Moving like a shadow, she ate the food, read old books from the digital library, and walked through the halls like they were dreams. Vale didn't come to her often, but when he didn't act like a buyer. He acted like someone who didn't want to break the silence. But silence cannot protect anyone forever. One night, the lights flickered. Elara was reading a book about old Earth animals when the hum of the engines changed. It was louder, heavier, like something was pulling at the ship. She stood quickly, heart beating fast, before she could leave her room. Vale's voice came through the speaker. "Elara, go to the control room," he said, calm but firm. Now she ran, feet bare, mind full of fear. The door to the control room slid open. Vale was already there, eyes locked on the main screen. Outside, in the starless dark, two ships were moving toward them. "They found us," he said. Elara stepped closer. "Who?" she asked. "My own kind," he replied. "The ones who gave me medals when I burned cities?" She stared at the ships on the screen. They were sharp and fast, built for hunting. "What do they want?" she asked, though the answer already burned. "In her chest, they know I'm hiding a human," Vale said. "That's forbidden." Elara's breath caught in her throat. "They'll kill me," she said. Vale didn't look away from the screen. "They'll kill both of us," he replied. She stepped back. "This is all because of me," she whispered. Vale turned to her. "No," he said. "This is because I refuse to forget." The two ships outside sent a signal. "Surrender the human or face destruction." Elara watched the words blink across the screen. "Maybe you should," she said. Her voice small. "Maybe if I go with them, they'll let you live." Vale looked at her with something between sorrow and steel. "I didn't buy you to lose you," he said. "But I'm not her," Elara replied. "I know." He said again. "And that's why I care." Alarms began to sound. The enemy ships had powered their weapons. Vale moved fast, pressing buttons, activating shields, turning off lights across the ship. They were running blind. But they had one advantage: stealth. Elara stood behind him, watching his hands move like music across the controls. "Can I help?" she asked suddenly. Vale stopped, surprised. "You know systems?" he asked. "I know how to learn fast," she said. He nodded once and gave her a small task. "Keep our signal low," he said. "They're scanning for human heat signatures." Elara sat at the second console, her fingers shaky but focused. She followed the code, turned off unnecessary systems, rerouted the power. The enemy's scan beam crossed the ship but didn't find her. "Good," Vale said. "Very good," Elara felt. Something she hadn't felt in years. Value, not as a thing, not as a memory, but as a person who could help. But the peace didn't last. The enemy fired a warning shot. The ship shook. Lights flickered. And something sparked behind the wall. "They're not going to wait," Vale said. "We need to jump." "Jump where?" Elara asked. "Anywhere far," he replied. "There's an old signal station near the asteroid field. If we reach it, we can hide." He set the coordinates. But the drive needed time to warm up. 3 minutes. 3 long, deadly minutes. The enemy ships were moving closer, charging weapons again. Elara turned to Vale. "If we die," she said, "will you still look for her in the stars?" Vale looked at her. "I already stopped," he said. "Now I look for you." Her throat tightened. But she had no time to feel. The enemy ship fired again. Closer. One of their shields dropped to 40%. "Prepare to jump," Vale shouted. "Hold." Elara grabbed the edge of the console. The ship began to shake. Lights flashing red. Engines roaring louder than fear. Then a flash, a sound like ripping space, and everything turned white. They jumped. Silence returned. The stars outside were different now. Smaller, quieter. They had escaped. But the price of that escape was not yet clear. Vale leaned back in his chair, breathing hard. Elara sat beside him, still holding the console like it was her lifeline. "You did well," he said. "So did you," she replied. For someone with ghosts, they shared a quiet look. No longer strangers, not yet lovers, but not enemies either. In that moment, they were something rare in the galaxy, 2 broken souls still alive. The ship was quiet again, but not calm, after the jump. The engines were hot, the lights dim, and the shields weak. Vale moved slowly now. Like his body carried a hidden wound. Elara followed him through the hallway. "Where are we?" she asked. "Far?" he said, "but not safe." Outside, a small station floated near an asteroid field. Half broken, almost forgotten, it was once a military outpost. Now, a graveyard of metal and silence. Vale docked the ship and shut down most systems. "If we stay." "Quiet," he said. "They might not find us." Elara looked around. "This place feels dead," she whispered. "Good," Vale replied. "Dead places don't get searched. But even in dead places, danger lives." They took shelter inside the station. Walking through dark halls filled with old wires and frozen air, Elara held a small light while Vale carried a scanner. They passed old symbols on the walls, signs of a war long forgotten. She stopped near a broken screen and saw something that made her freeze. An old flag, Earth's flag, ripped, burned, but still there. She touched it gently. "We were everywhere once," she said. "Now we're nowhere." Vale didn't answer, but his eyes softened. They reached the control center. Dusty, cracked, but still working. Vale powered up a small console. "We'll hide here until the core cools down," he said. "Then we move again." Elara sat beside him, watching as he worked. "Why don't you have a crew?" she asked. "I did," he said, "but they followed orders, and you didn't." She asked. "I followed my heart," he replied. "That's why I'm alone." Elara wanted to say something, but the screen blinked red. Signal detected. Vale cursed under his breath. "They found our trail," he said. "We don't have much time." He stood up fast and began typing commands. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Setting traps," he replied. "If they follow us here, we make them bleed." Elara walked to a nearby panel and opened it. Inside were wires, switches, and an old defense grid. "I can help," she said. Vale looked surprised, but nodded. "Use that to power the outer guns," he said, "and keep the station offline." Elara worked quickly, fingers moving with purpose. She was no soldier, but she had lived in dark places before. She knew how to survive within minutes. They had rearmed 2 turrets and blocked incoming scans. Then the station shook. Just once. "They're here," Vale said. 2 small ships appeared on the screen, circling the station like vultures. They sent no signal this time. They came to destroy. "Ready?" "The guns," Vale said. Elara took her place, her hands cold but steady. She aimed, waited, then fired. One enemy ship took a hit to the wing and spun away. Vale fired next, hitting the second ship's engine. It didn't go down, but it backed off. The station shook again as the enemy fired back. Dust fell from the ceiling. Alarms screamed, shields failing. The computer said, "Don't stop." Vale shouted. Elara gritted her teeth and kept firing. Another hit, then another. The enemy was confused. They didn't expect a dead station to bite back, but they regrouped. Fast, one ship launched drones, fast and sharp. "Heading for the power core. If they hit that, we're gone," Vale said. "I'll stop them," Elara said, running toward the lower deck. "Wait," Vale called. But she was already gone. She raced down the dark stairs, light in hand, heart pounding. She reached the engine room and saw the drones breaking through a vent. Without thinking, she grabbed a wrench and smashed the first one. Sparks flew. Metal screamed. Another drone shot a wire toward her. But she ducked, kicked it, and smashed again. One by one, she took them down. She wasn't a fighter. But fear made her brave. When it was over, she stood alone in the smoke, chest heaving. She had won. Back in the control room, Vale was fighting too. The final enemy ship took heavy damage and tried to flee. Vale locked onto it and fired one last time. Boom, silence. The threat was gone. Elara returned. Covered in dust and sweat, Vale looked at her with wide eyes. "You're bleeding," he said, stepping forward. "Just a scratch," she replied, smiling. Weakly, "You saved the Corps," he said. "You saved us. You saved me first." She said, "Now we're even." Vale laughed, a sound rare and soft. They stood there for a long moment, not speaking, not running, just breathing. In that ruined station, with fire in the wires and dust in the air, something changed between them, not master and servant. Not buyer and sold, but two people who had fought side by side and survived. Asterisk, the old station was quiet again. Smoke still floated in the halls, and wires sparked like tiny stars. But the battle was over. Elara sat on the floor of the control room, her back against the wall. Vale stood nearby. Watching the empty screen where enemy ships had once appeared, neither spoke, but something had changed between them. They were no longer strangers. They had fought, bled, and survived together. Elara looked at her hands, still dirty from battle. She had never seen herself as strong, but tonight she had saved lives, hers and his. Vale finally broke the silence. "We can't stay here," he said. Elara nodded slowly. "They'll come again," she whispered. "More ships, more orders." "Yes," Vale replied, "but we won't wait this time." He reached into a metal case and pulled out a small star map. "There's a place," he said, "far beyond the outer rings, a planet with no name, no war." Elara asked. "No law," he replied, "but no one to chase us." She stood up. Walking to the window, outside, pieces of the enemy ships drifted like ash in space. "I don't want to keep running," she said. "But I'm tired of being hunted," Vale stepped beside her. "You won't be alone," he said. His voice was softer now. No longer sharp like a commander. He was just a man, wounded but alive. Elara turned to him. "I need to know something," she said. "I had looked different. If I didn't remind you of her, would you still have saved me?" Vale met her eyes, no fear in his voice. "Yes," he said, "because when I saw you, I didn't see her face. I saw someone trying to survive, just like me." Her chest tightened for so long. She had felt like a copy of a memory, but now she felt seen, truly seen. They returned to the ship, leaving the dead station behind. The engines groaned as Vale restarted them, but they held. Elara sat in the co-pilot seat, her hands steady on the controls. "Ready?" he asked. She nodded. "Let's disappear," she said. The stars bent and twisted as the ship jumped through space. It was not like before, not a desperate escape, this time. It felt like freedom. Days passed, no one followed, no signals, no warnings. Just silence and open stars. Vale taught Elara how to fly the ship, how to read signals, and how to stay invisible. She learned fast, faster than he expected. Sometimes they talked, sometimes, but the silence was warm now. Not empty. One evening, as they floated near a red sun, Vale showed her a photo. It was the woman from before and the child. "This was my family," he said, "and I buried them in war." Elara took the photo gently. "I'm not here to replace them," she said. "No," he replied, "but you've given me something I thought was gone." "What's that?" she asked. "Hope," he said. She smiled, small and true. It had been a long time since anyone gave her that word. They reached the nameless planet 2 days later. It was covered in blue forests and floating rocks. Strange birds flew through golden clouds. It didn't look like home, but it felt like it could be. Vale landed the ship near a quiet lake. No cities, no lights, just wind and water. They stepped outside, the ground soft under their feet. Elara breathed in the strange air and felt peace for the first time in years. "I used to think love was just survival," she said, "but maybe it's more." Vale looked at her, not as someone he bought, but as someone he chose and someone who chose him back. They built a small shelter from the ship's parts, nothing fancy, but enough. They grew food, fixed broken tools, and watched stars from the hilltop at night. Sometimes they laughed, sometimes they remembered, but mostly they lived. One night, as the moons rose above the lake, Vale sat beside her and said, "You can leave any time." Alara looked at him. The man who had once whispered, "Never leave." Me, but now his hands were open, not holding, just offering. She took his hand and held it gently. "I'm not staying because you asked," she said. "I'm staying because I want to." And in that moment, the galaxy felt smaller, quieter, and finally, kind. 3 months had passed on the quiet planet. The days were warm, the nights calm, and the sky was always full of stars. Alara and Vale had made a small life, simple but strong. Their shelter stood near the lake, with solar panels and a small garden each. Day felt like healing, like waking up from a long nightmare. But peace in the galaxy was never permanent. One morning, Alara was gathering roots near the edge of the forest. She looked up and saw a light in the sky. It wasn't a star. It moved too fast, too low. Her chest tightened. She dropped the basket and ran back to the shelter. Vale was already outside, staring. "At the lightship," he said, voice hard again. "The way it used to be. Can you tell who it is?" She asked. He shook his head. "It's not one of theirs," he said. "Signal is different." The ship hovered above the lake, silent, dark, then slowly landed on the far side. It didn't fire, didn't scan, didn't speak. It just waited. Vale powered up the old scanner, pulled his weapon from storage. "We'll go together," he said. Alara nodded. Grabbing a small pulse blade, she had learned enough not to be helpless. They walked toward the ship, step by step, quiet but alert. The ship was small, smooth, with no markings. Its surface shimmered like it didn't belong in this timeline. A door opened with a hiss, smoke curled out, and a figure stepped through. Alara froze. It was a human. A real one, not a hybrid, not a clone. A woman, dressed in black fabric that seemed to clean for the dirt of the world. Her eyes were bright, sharp, scanning everything. "Alara," she said. Like reading a name from a memory, Alara's grip tightened on her blade. "Who are you?" she asked. The woman raised her hands. No weapon, no threat. "My name is Dr. Selen," she said. "I'm from the Human Preservation Fleet." Vale stepped forward, gun still ready. "There is no human fleet," he said, voice cold. Selen looked at him and smiled gently. "There wasn't," she replied. "But there is now." Alara felt her knees weaken. "What do you mean?" she asked. "Earth is still gone," Selen said, "but humans are rebuilding. Slowly, carefully. We've been searching for survivors. And we found your name in an old slave archive." Alara blinked, her past flashing like fire behind her eyes. "How did you find this planet?" Vale asked. "You left a trail?" Selen said. "Not on purpose. But we followed whispers, coordinates, and old war files. Everyone thought you were dead." Commander Vale didn't move, didn't blink. "Maybe I was," he said. Selen looked back at Alara. "You've been reported missing for 6 years," she said softly. "We thought you were lost." "I was," Alara replied, voice shaking, "but now I'm found." Selen stepped forward, slow and calm. "We're offering you a place with us," she said. "A world where humans are free again. You don't have to hide." Alara looked at Vale. His face was unreadable, cold like before. He said nothing, just waited. "I have to think," Alara said. "Of course," Selen replied. "We'll wait one day, then we leave." She returned to her ship, and the door closed. Alara and Vale walked back in silence. Inside their shelter, the air felt heavier. Vale sat down without a word. "You want me to go," Alara said. "No," he replied, "but I won't stop you." She stared at the fire, the warmth, the home. They had made, "They're my people," she said. "I know," he said. She turned to him. "But so are you." That night, she couldn't sleep. She walked to the lake, stared at the stars. Selen's words echoed in her mind. You don't have to hide. But she wasn't hiding. Not anymore. She was living. In the morning, Selen waited outside her ship. Ilara approached, calm and steady. "I made my choice," she said. Selen smiled, but it faded when Ilara continued. "I'm staying. Why?" Selen asked, confused. "You're one of us." "I am," Ilara said. "But I'm also something else now. I'm not a slave, not a ghost, and not a broken memory. I'm a survivor." She looked toward the shelter where Vale stood. "Watching, I found my place," she said. "Not because of safety, but because of love." Selen nodded slowly. "Then I wish you peace," she said. The ship rose, slow and silent. Then vanished into the sky. Ilara walked back home, her heart. Calm. Vale didn't speak when she arrived. He just opened the door. She stepped inside. And for the first time, she truly felt free.